by Mr. Asher Sullivan.
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to have a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to request that we modify the agenda and move number 14, which are budget items, move those directly behind visitors. Mr. Runyon has we all have a county commission meeting that starts at 5:30, and he's been requested to be there to answer any questions.
Yes. Is everybody okay with that? Yes. Okay. We'll move it right up.
Okay.
So first is the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion for the approval of agenda passes. Number 5, approval of the consent agenda. Any comments or questions?
So the minutes for April 19 are going to be brought next board meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
And we are removing the
Routine bids.
routine bids? Is that what,
Yes.
Mr. Lee, is that what you said Tuesday, that we're taking those bids out because they're going back out?
3671 and 3672 have been removed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion on approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain? Motion passes for the approval of the consent agenda. So next, number 6.
Yep. So number 6, we acknowledged this the other night, but we're also going to acknowledge it again. So we want to say a special thank you to Kroger on Veterans for donating 200 cakes in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week. We thank you for your continued support of our teachers, schools, and being a community partner. And if you missed us on Tuesday, huge thank you to our school board for delivering cakes to each one of our 50 campuses. Thank you guys again.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Chris Reed, for securing that donation for us.
And Ms. Bratton for organizing
Yes.
it all.
It was her dream.
Thank you, but you all helped. You carried your cakes well.
Nobody complained that I ate some of theirs? Okay.
I got no emails on you.
Okay, good, good. Next up, we have visitors, and I think we've got one visitor. And that is, no, we don't have a visitor. No visitor. We're meeting with her next week, so no visitors. So we're going to move up number 14, so our gentleman can go over to the county commissioners.
Number 14, we have Financial Matters, tab 5. So first, we have our General Purpose School Fund 141, 24, 23 school year. General Purpose School Fund is an estimated revenue and expenditure. Brian, do you have that new accurate number is? Actually, I have it. It's on the Rutherford County proposed index sheet. This is the new number that will be reflected in the minutes. $518,420,946. So that is revenue and expenditures.
Could you repeat?
Yes. The General Purpose School Fund is an estimated revenue and expenditure of $518,420,946, as presented for a balanced budget. Additionally, this budget proposal only requires the legal minimum maintenance of effort from our local funding body. Recommended motion to approve the GPS Fund 141-23-24 school year with estimated revenues and expenditures of $518,420,946 and only requesting maintenance of effort from our county commission as presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve a balanced budget.
Second. Third.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for a balanced budget. Congratulations, Dr. Sullivan.
Oh, you guys as well. That was a team effort, so congratulations to all of us.
Number 2.
Number 2 is our Centralized Cafeteria Fund 143-23-24 school year. The Centralized Cafeteria Fund has an estimated revenue of $29,715,000 and expenditures of $34,350,091. Sorry, I have an extra typo in there because they round up. So it is $34,350,090.70. The county software rounds that up to $91. Currently, the estimated fund balance for Fund 143 at the end of the 22-23 school year is $13,411,655.94, or 49.6%. The proposed 23-24 budget utilizes $635,090.70 of fund balance to replace equipment and to bring the fund balance closer to our legal requirements. So recommended motion to approve the Cafeteria Fund, Centralized Cafeteria Fund 143 as presented.
Any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for the Centralized Cafeteria Fund. Thank you so much. So now we're going to go back to number 8.
We've got number 3. Let's go ahead and take care of it.
One more.
Sorry,
The cap-
apologize. Ahead of myself.
Yep. Education Capital Projects Fund 177-23-24 school year. The Educational Capital Projects Fund has an estimated revenue and expenditure of $17,909,810. And so recommended motion to approve the Education Capital Projects Fund 147 with estimated revenues expenditures of $17,909,810 as presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve this balanced budget.
Thank you, Ms. Brackett. Thank you, Ms. Darby. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for the Educational Capital Projects Fund.
All right, thank you, School Board.
Thank you. Now we'll go back to.
And as we're going back to, I think, number 8, so the next step, we have a joint meeting with Health and Education on May 23rd. That is a joint meeting for budget and health and ed. We attend, but we are not voting members. And so we will be there, but we are not voting members because they will only be looking at our budget and asking questions about our budget. It then goes to a couple more processes of budget meetings with a public comment period for the final tax rate gets set at June 26th. So a couple notes on that is our budget committee. Last week, we had a great budget committee meeting with our county commission, and they talked about multiple times us being able to only ask for maintenance of effort allowed us to be able to cover our own debt that we are looking at, and that came from our finance director of the county. So huge celebrations again.
We need to do Springs again since we covered that Tuesday night. Did you have any?
Dr. Chastain, we have anything else?
There were no further updates unless there was a property update.
Yes, okay, thank you. Mr. Reed, would you please come forward? Oh, no, number 8 is Springs. So you're number 9.
Ready for number 9?
Is he coming up here?
Mr. Reed?
Oh, I thought he, I
No, we're
apologize.
number 8, and then 9.
9 is the Sullivan Family Scholarship Fund 10.
Yeah.
He was coming up for that.
Yes, you can go ahead and come up for that one. Yep.
Okay.
We're all confused.
This is a special night for my family. I have my family here. And so I did want to just take a couple minutes and kind of read a couple of things because I don't think I could hold it together composure-wise if I didn't read that. I have my family here. I have my parents here with me. I have Jim and Cheryl Sullivan and Nancy and Bo Berlin. So you guys can stand real quick, please, just so they can see who you are. So I have my in-laws, Joan and Robert Barnes, and then I want my three just warriors in life, I guess, to come through. Casey, Asher, and Declan, if you guys don't mind coming up here, you guys can be seated. Thank you. So this is a neat thing that really started in May of 2020. So together we run one of the largest and most successful entities in Rutherford County. Many of you know our story, but I wanted to take a few minutes. Yeah, I won't be able to hold it together. Take a few moments for those of you who don't. Yes, we serve in professional roles, but we also have unique skills and experiences that make us a high-performing team. April 9th, 2020 is a day that will forever be a day that we, as we know it, our family life changed. The night of April 8th, I vividly remember the discussion between my wife Casey and I. We were worried about which travel baseball teams Declan and Asher were going to be playing on. That next morning, the morning of April 9th, Declan had a doctor's appointment because of an ear infection that hadn't healed. They ran blood work, sent a prescription for antibiotics. I was on my way to work that morning, and then Casey called me and said that our doctor had referred us to Vanderbilt. We needed to get there ASAP for blood transfusions and to pack a bag, and that is as far as we knew. Because of COVID, only Casey and Declan were able to go to the hospital at that time. We drove them. Asher and I hung out in the parking lot for what seemed like forever. I don't know if he remembers or not, but it seemed like forever. What began as a normal breakfast on that morning of April 9th, Declan was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia by 4:30 p.m. He spent the next 22 days in the hospital while the amazing team at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital began an extremely regimented plan that went from April 9th, 2020 to August 6, 2022. During treatment, Declan finished 6 phases of treatment: induction, consolidation, interim maintenance 1, delayed intensification, interim maintenance 2, and then finally maintenance. My wife Casey was the unbelievable keeper of that schedule because every single day was on an Excel spreadsheet of what pills, what days, what times, what transfusions had to be done. So huge thank you, of course, to her. Just a couple things about stats that kind of our family went through. Definitely, mainly this guy, but our family. 43 nights in the hospital, 2 ER visits, 4 blood transfusions, 1 platelet transfusion, 3 bone marrow biopsies, 1 port placement surgery, 1 port removal surgery, the different chemotherapy that he had, 5 IV methotrexate infusions, 4 high-dose methotrexate infusions, 41 vincristine infusions, 26 spinal taps with chemotherapy, 137 days of steroids, 10 pills each day. You can only imagine how great that was of an attitude. We love you, Declan. 7 pegasparagase infusions, 3 cyclophosphamide infusions, 24 cytarabine infusions. My wife and I had to become experts on giving chemo at home. That was interesting, to say the least. You like that? No, I didn't care for that very much. 48 leucovorin infusions. That's basically a rescue drug that helps clear the toxicity of some of the medication he was under. 3 doxorubicin infusions. That's known as the Red Devil. 14 doses of an oral chemo that I don't know how to pronounce. 64 doses of oral methotrexate of 9 pills each time, and then he had 585 straight days of oral methotrexate at home. So all that to say, the job as a director of schools is hard. It's the most rewarding job in my career. However, I'm also a person, and being in leadership in Rutherford County has provided me a platform to be able to give back. Declan's journey wasn't about me, Declan, my family, or any one person. It was a community battle, and we were supported in ways that we can never repay. We had GoFundMe donations, meal plans, donations for travel so that after every phase we could go somewhere and just kind of celebrate. We went to more national parks during that time than I think anybody travels to in a lifetime. There were t-shirt sales, bakery sales, and as a hardworking and pretty quiet family, it was very hard for us to accept all of that. And so during a crisis, you get to see the good in people. People wanted to help, and this was a way for them to show support. Once we figured out kind of our role of where we were, RCS really became transitioning to help other organizations. So RCS led a Light the Night drive for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society for the 21-22 and 22-23 school year. Our schools and individuals are recognized for their amazing financial contributions to this nonprofit. However, as a family, one thing we always wanted to do was be able to give back. Unfortunately, we have other families in Rutherford County who have gone through similar, even worse medical hardships. I know we had Thursdays that we had to go, and on our Thursdays, we had 2 other kids at clinic with us that were students in Rutherford County going through very similar, if not the same type of treatment. So yes, cancer happened to Declan, but it impacted us all. And tonight, we are here with my family, who I recognized earlier, And as Director of Schools, I'm blessed to serve this community I grew up in and has supported me and my family when we needed it the most. Per my contract, the Director of Schools receives the same raise as certified staff members. As such, I would like to donate the percentage raise that I receive after taxes to start a restricted account in RCS known as the Sullivan Family Scholarship Fund. This scholarship will be given to a high school senior who has faced a critical illness. A committee application and rewarding structure will be developed within the next year, with initial awards scheduled for June 2024, and just initially, I would imagine that'll be somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000. So, sorry for staying with me for that. A little emotional, but thank you guys. Some of you on this board battled that through with me. So, thank you. Yeah. You want to
Okay, we're going to vote, we'll vote on it and then y'all can vote. I know it got hot, just a minute. Oh. We're going to vote and then. Okay.
Mr. Young and Ms. Bratton, would you come in just a little? I want to get you all. I don't think they're going to be able to stand. I can't see whoever's right behind us, so nobody. Okay. Ready? I love that Asher is almost as tall as Declan.
Oh, my goodness. Fiddling right over you, Ari.
So there's a recommended motion to approve this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes. Thank you so much, everyone. So number 10, and Mr. Reed is. Oh, you can't see over the podium.
Board members, we have an appeal by a bus contractor tonight. Allison Brown, a bus contractor, has appealed the decision to suspend one of her drivers, Makia Brown, as an authorized bus driver for the Rutherford County Schools for a period of 1 year. On January 23rd and 24th of 2023, the school system received complaints regarding inappropriate behavior by Makia Brown towards a parent while operating a bus running a route for the Rutherford County school system. The incident was caught on video. The Department of Transportation investigated the complaint and determined that Makia Brown had engaged in unprofessional conduct that endangered the safety and/or well-being of students and failed to have appropriate rapport with students and parents. Under the bus contract, a bus contractor has the right to appeal the suspension of a driver to the Board of Education if the matter is not resolved to the satisfaction of the bus contractor after meeting with the Director of Transportation Department and the Director of Schools designee. The Director of Transportation and Trey Lee, as the designee of the Director of Schools, met with Ms. Brown. The decision to suspend Makia Brown was not changed. So Ms. Brown has requested an appeal before you guys tonight and appeals the suspension of this driver to the board. After hearing the appeal, the options that you'll have as a board will be to either affirm the decision to suspend Makia Brown from driving buses serving the Rutherford County school system for a period of 1 year from January 26, 2023, or to reverse the decision to suspend Makia Brown or impose some lesser or greater penalty as the Board of Education determines. So after the 1 year suspension that Ms. Makia Brown is currently under, she will be eligible to be reinstated as a bus driver if the Director of Transportation and the Transportation Department approves that. So the suspension is just for 1 year. So with that having been said, Ms. Brown, are you here tonight? Okay. So you're having a hearing before the board, and both basically you have a chance to tell the board anything you want to tell about the situation and explain to them why you're appealing the decision. So you'll have 15 minutes, and then the school system itself will have 15 minutes to respond after the conclusion of the presentation by Ms. Brown and the school system. If there's any board members that have questions about it, you can ask questions of either side. So at this point, we'll go ahead and open the floor to Ms. Brown. You can come stand at the podium and present what you want to present to the Board of Education.
I'm representing my daughter, Makia Brown. And I've talked to Mr. Lee, Ms. Burnett. The 1 year, I wouldn't say caught on video, what happened, but in the way it was presented all across the social media, the TV and everything, I feel like it was more like a plot, me personally. And I say that because, different things, I'm the only person, I don't know, I feel like I'm the only person that's going through these type of things. This is a contract, and back to the script or whatever, but Makia had problems with those students on the video. It got out of hand, and I hate that, but Makia, she's not a Rutherford County school employee. Her employee, and I'm nervous with it anyway. But anyway, I got the situation handled with Makia. I disciplined her myself. We talked to the parent. We got letter, saying from the parent, I had presented that a while back, saying that everything was under control before the investigation. And the investigation, I would think being an investigation would involve all parties involved. But to this day, nobody ever asked Makia her side of the story. And that was in January. Nobody. It's just like you're suspended that point blank. In March 14th, I had a similar incident involving an employee at Riverdale. Investigation, I have not heard anything yet. He's still doing his job. So I'm thinking, Makia should be doing her job. She's already been disciplined. To my satisfaction, to her, she's been through a lot. But if he continues to have his job, why shouldn't she? Things fall through the crack. I just got an email, a phone call stating 5-year fingerprints. I don't know if all are familiar with that, but back in 2018, we're supposed to have fingerprints every 5 years. I haven't. That's the law. I'm still driving. So, why shouldn't she be able, if we can break the law, and that's not a law, she didn't, the harsh words, she didn't hit anybody, none of that. Didn't break the law other than harsh words. And she apologized for that. And so I'm thinking I would like to have her to come back to her bus driving duties. A while back as well, there were a lot of things that were said that were not true. I do have insurance. I have registration on my bus. I didn't have it that day of the wreck that was referred to, but referring to that wreck, Makia, she's very dedicated, a strong person. She got hurt in that wreck, but on that day, the only thing she got was, let's do a drug screen. Not how are you okay? Are the kids okay? It was 2 students that were injured. Nobody asked that. That's why I say a plot against me and my daughter, my driver. It's sad. A simple job description to drive to and from school, to take the kids to and from school safely. I can't do that because I got this other drama coming towards me. It's sad, but anyway, I feel like Makia should have another chance. I think a year is very harsh. Nobody else has had a year. And I think the year is just because certain people know that she was up for her own contract and to keep her from getting that contract. That's my opinion. But I'm open to any questions, if you have any.
We're saving the questions to the end, so Ms. Brown, if that's the end of your presentation now, then we'll ask the school system to present its side of the case, and then after that, if the board members have any questions, they can ask either side any questions.
I will only address the issue at hand, which is the suspension of Ms. Brown due to the events that took place on January 23rd and 24th of this year. We have met with Ms. Brown and Micaiah. I met with them on March 16th as part of the appeal process. We had a nice meeting. It was very cordial. I listened to both sides as they requested that the suspension be lifted. There are situations where it's very tough for us to be in the positions that we are in. But in those positions, as adults and as authority figures, there are certain behaviors that we have to exhibit. We watched this video. There was interaction on the 23rd between the parent and Ms. Brown, where there was a car involved, there was a verbal altercation there as well. In review of all of the information on the 23rd and 24th, the video was shown to this board on the 26th. It's very tough to watch, but I do feel that we did take into effect Micaiah's young age, and the situation it was a very stressful situation. But due to that interaction and what we observed on the video, we felt that there needed to be some time for her to grow and to also, and I suggested in our meeting on the 16th that we take some classes. Crisis managed to help her be able to deal with these types of things going forward, and that if the suspension was upheld, that in a year we would be glad to look at what she had done to help herself, and that we would be willing to look at reinstating. So after that meeting, slept on it for the weekend, talked with Ms. Barnett again. We felt like that we should not reduce the suspension from a year, and therefore on the 22nd I notified Ms. Brown that our original recommendation of 1 year would stand, and at that point she would have the opportunity to come before you again. So that's the brief synopsis of the situation at hand.
Do we have any questions from any board members?
I have a question for Ms. Brown. What's the status of the crisis management classes for Ms. Michaela?
Makia, we haven't had crisis management classes, but we have been doing things. She's spoken with people, different council, I guess church-wise. She has spoken with different people. I'm just trying to take in all of this. Me personally, and me knowing Makia all her life, like I said, that video does not display her character at all. It was said that she should take the classes or whatever, but I think, we've all lost our cool. We have. And to insinuate and not even know anything about her, to have her do classes, that's kind of, but she's willing. She said she was willing to take the classes. She has 2 small kids. And she's a great mother around kids. But if this is what is requested, then I'm sure she have no problem. Because I think she told Mr. Lee that she would.
Okay, thank you. Trey Lee, can you specify exactly what you mean by crisis management class?
I kind of left it open-ended for them to choose the classes. We've recommended in the past, we have suspended other drivers for various things, and we've kind of left it up to them to find something that they felt was appropriate. I would think that some type of anger management, how to respond in a crisis situation, how to deal with children as an authority figure, some things along that line. There's a number of online courses. I'm not looking to ask them to spend a lot of money. A lot of these things are available online, and you can get a certificate once completed. So we typically try to steer clear of recommending individual programs and leave it more so up to them. But we did offer, if they wanted us to help look for some things, that we would.
So to clarify, what to your satisfactory will be to determine that stipulation be met?
I wouldn't think it would be a 30-minute, I hate to quantify hours, I would, because some programs are longer than others. But I would think a couple of three shows some type of initiative, some things that, that would benefit them going forward. I did not have I want 6 hours, I want 8 hours. I was trying to work with them with their schedule to come up with some things, and then after they've completed those things, if they submit them to us, we'll look at it and see what our thought is.
So a certificate of some kind will be satisfactory.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any further questions for board members? Hearing no further questions, the options that the board has, I'll read those again so you know your options tonight. Your options are to affirm the decision to suspend Micaiah Brown from driving buses serving the Rutherford County school system for 1 year from January 26, 2023. You can reverse the decision to suspend Micaiah Brown, or you can impose some lesser or greater penalty as the Board of Education determines. So those are your options tonight, and with that, I'll turn it back to the chairman for any motions.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we affirm the decision to suspend Micaiah Brown from driving buses serving the Rutherford County school system for 1 year from January 26, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes to affirm the decision. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Number 11.
All right, number 11, Transportation Tab 2. Transportation Department will be providing bus services to support the summer camp program completely funded by Tennessee All Courts funds. Tennessee All Courts funds will provide contractors $450 a day for the duration of the 16 scheduled summer camp sessions. Recommended approval, motion to approve transportation for summer camp program as presented.
I'll entertain a motion for,
Move to approve.
thank you, Ms. Rallis. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for the transportation for summer camp. Number 12.
All right, number 12, Human Resources Tab 3, new proposed title and job description. Under the direct supervision of the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Support Services, we're requesting a title change to the job description of Recruitment Manager, which was approved in March of this year. The new job title will be Coordinator of New Teacher Programs and Recruitment. Recommended approval. Motion to approve the updated job title of Recruitment Manager to the new title of Coordinator of New Teacher Programs and Recruitment as presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes to approve the updated job titlement for recruitment manager. Number 13.
All right, number 13, we have legal tab 4. So the first one, we have add a county transfer. The board has been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was remanded for possession of THC. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to admit and place an alternative school. Recommended approval, motion to admit or deny the admission for this out-of-county transfer student as presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Recommend to admit and place an alternative school.
Thank you, Mr. Tidwell. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose?
Oppose.
Ms. Rosales opposes. Motion passes. Number 2.
Number 2, the board has been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student is referred to the Alternative Learning Center for Fighting. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to admit and place an alternative school. Recommended approval, motion to admit or deny the admission for this out-of-county transfer student as presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to admit and place in the alternative school.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose?
Oppose.
Ms. Rosales opposes. Motion passes. Number 3.
All right, number 3, the board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was expelled, zero tolerance for possession of a large amount of marijuana. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to deny admission. Recommended approval, motion to admit or deny the admission for this out-of-county transfer student as presented.
Comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to deny admission.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes. Number 4.
All right, number 4, the board has been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was placed in alternative school for assault of another student. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admission of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to deny admission. Recommended approval, motion to admit or deny the admission for this out-of-county transfer student is presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to deny admission.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to oppose or abstain? Motion passes to deny. Roman numeral 2.
All right, Roman numeral 2, policy adoption, first readings of 2 readings. The policies below are recommended on the first reading. These policies will be brought to the next scheduled board meeting for a second and final reading. Madam Chairman, if you don't mind, can we call on Monica to go over the update she made?
Yes, there's 2.
Yes, Ms. Ridley, can you go over the changes that you made? I think you sent those out to everyone earlier today as well.
Sorry about that. The first change is to policy 5.119, employment of retirees. So when the policy committee met, we discussed that retired teachers that are employed with the district would be eligible to accrue sick days as regular certified employees, but would not be eligible to receive compensation for accrued days that are not used. So initially, when the policy committee met, we had put that under the employment contracts for 1 year. but there's really 3 different contracts that retirees can have with us. And so the new suggested language is it's the same language, but the placement would be just under that general title, so that it applies to all 3 different contracts that our retirees can have with us. And so it would still state the same, that the retired teachers would be eligible to accrue sick days, but not any other leave other than sick leave.
And that included the 80 percenters and the 75 percenters? Is that what it?
Yes, and the contract's up to 120 days also. And then the other small change would be to the new policy, which is 6.313, and that's the spectators policy. We're calling this the clear bag policy. And again, initially when the policy committee met to discuss this change or this new policy, we didn't have in there that clutch purses no larger than 4.5 inches by 6 inches would be allowed. And so our safety director asked that we add that in there. That is pretty standard for all Nissan Stadium, Bridgestone. They allow either the clear bags or a very small clutch. So our safety director wanted that added in there. And so I have language right now that reads, as an alternative, attendees may use a small clutch purse no larger than 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches to the proposed policy.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sullivan, you read these Tuesday night. Do we, board members, does he need to read them again tonight? Are y'all okay with him not reading them again tonight?
So we have a recommended, we've read it, looked at our policies, recommended approval, motion to adopt the above policies on the first of 2 readings as presented.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for new policies. The second reading. So we did number 14, so we're going to 15.
All right, number 15, Facilities and Construction, tab 6, Roman numeral 1, request for Siegel Stadium turf. Principal Larry Creasy has requested to move forward with a new synthetic turf field for Siegel High Stadium. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval. Funding will be from private donations at no cost to the board. Recommended motion to approve the Siegel High request to install a synthetic turf field at no cost to the board is presented.
Cost or comments? Ms. Rosales, is that your school? Siegel, your school?
No, that's Ms. Bratton.
Ms. Bratton, okay. So,
Which one?
what?
Siegel.
Eagle.
That's my school.
Okay, sorry. I knew there was a
It
change.
changed, though.
I knew there
It
was a
changed. That's why you thought that.
Redistrict.
The redistricting changed it.
That's correct.
So, Ms. Bratton, would you like to?
I would love to. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to recommend that we approve the Siegel High request to install a synthetic turf field at no cost to the board as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for the Siegel Stadium turf. Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Yes.
Roman number 2.
All right, Siegel High Redstone Bank request. Principal Larry Creasy has requested to enter in a partnership with Redstone Bank for an on-campus bank. This project is very similar to the one already in place at Blackman High. This program will be in conjunction with the Career and Technical Education Department. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval. This project will be coordinated through Engineering and Construction for any necessary changes. The cost of all changes will be funded by Redstone Bank and at no cost to the board. Recommended motion to approve the Siegel request to enter into a partnership with Redstone Bank at no cost to the board is presented.
This is a large expense for the bank to incur to put this in our facilities, and it goes a long way to our students' literacy with money and finance. So it's a great thing. Any other comments or questions?
I'm ready.
Okay. I'll
Madam
entertain a
Chairman, I'd like to recommend that we approve the Siegel request to enter into a partnership with Redstone Bank at no cost to the board as presented.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes to approve the request for partnership with Redstone Bank with Siegel. Thank you so much. Roman number 3.
The new Kittrell Elementary sign, Principal Aaron Culver is requesting to install a new marquee sign on the Kittrell campus. The cost of the sign purchase will be by Wilson Bank and the installation funded through the school requested maintenance funds. The cost for the installation is $4,602.75. This request is similar request from other schools and Wilson Bank. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval. Recommended motion to approve the new Kittrell Elementary School sign with Wilson Bank is presented.
Any comments or questions?
Isn't this the same sign? Yes, when they built the school.
It is definitely the same sign. The graphics are amazing from Windows 95, it looks like.
It's amazing. I'd like to move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes to approve the Kittrell Elementary School sign with Wilson Bank.
All right, Laverne High hallways upgrade. Engineering Construction has reviewed the hallways at Laverne High and request to provide funding from the 22-23 school budget fund balance to make repairs and replacements to the hallways. This request includes replacement of all hallway ceilings with like materials, painting of the hallway with 2 colors, painting the hallway side of all door frames, and replacing the VCT flooring with LVT. Projected cost utilizing previously bid projects and contracts on bid is $980,000. Recommended motion to utilize $980,000 of the 22-23 fund balance to update the hallways at Laverne High School as presented.
Any comments or questions?
I do have one question. Are we taking care of the HVAC system down there now? It's all done or in plan?
We have a project that will complete this summer that we were completing with ESSER funds, and I also have Phase 2 in next year's 177 fund. So we are working on the HVAC there as well, yes.
And is the air flow, has that, the diagram that you showed me with the airflow pattern, is that improving with the air circulation so it's not as hot in the building?
We are adding fresh air to Laverne and taking care of some of their existing units. So the air quality is improving, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm going to make a motion, since I'm allowed to do it, but I very seldom do. I move to approve this.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for Laverne. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And that will come back to you next time. So now that you have officially approved that, now we will move at the next board meeting to approve the funding. So just know that we'll have a budget amendment to fund that next time.
But can we go ahead and start?
Yes, we are. Yeah, because we have some utilized funds. We'll go ahead and move on it tomorrow.
I'm writing contracts in the morning.
Yes.
Number 5.
All right, number 5, lease of unused Plainview property for crops. Rick Marshall has previously leased a portion of the unused Plainview property for crops from the prior owner. He requested to lease approximately 50 acres for the 23 growing season at a proposed rate of $85 per acre. Engineering Construction Department does not believe the lease will interfere with school operations. The property to be leased is generally shown in the attachment and would exclude any roads. The lease would run until December 1st, 2023. Recommended motion to lease 50 acres of the unused Plainview property to Rick Marshalls at a rate of $85 per acre through December 1st, 2023, under a lease form approved by the Board Attorney, Jeff Reed.
Any comments or questions?
Is this just across the street from Plainview Elementary?
It's across the street and beside it, going toward the main highway. So there's one section on the Plainview side as you enter, and then it's the opposite side.
How close to the school is the property on the side?
The other side of the road?
So there's a road in between
Yes, there is.
all
Yes,
parts of it?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
I move to approve.
Thank you, thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for the lease at Plainview property. Number 6.
All right, number 6, development agreement with City of Murfreesboro for sewer to the Blackman property. City of Murfreesboro has amended its city ordinance to allow sewer to be extended outside the city limits to serve schools to be built on the Beatty property. The will-serve letter from the city was also subject to a development agreement being entered between the Board of Education and the city for installation of sewer. A development agreement has now been negotiated allowing for the sewer service. Mr. Reed, do you have the vote for what the city did?
City Council approved the development agreement yesterday.
Perfect. So the city council approved that yesterday. So the development agreement needs to also be approved by the Board of Education and the County Commission. This is the final step needed to confirm sewer service for the Beatty property to serve the schools. Recommended motion to approve the development agreement as presented.
Any comments or questions?
Is the county commission voting on this tonight?
They are, so that's where we're headed as soon as we're done.
Well, I would just like to say that this didn't look like it was going to happen at the beginning, so I'd like to thank everybody that was involved, from RCS, from City Council, Shane McFarland, all those involved. I really appreciate all the work that got put into this.
Absolutely.
And the collaboration, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were, I thought there was a pause there. Absolutely, I was just going to echo what you said.
And with that, I move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Can
Anyone
we
wish
do a
to
roll
abstain or
call
oppose?
on this vote? It's part of Robert's rules. We can do roll call, right?
You can request a roll call, yes.
Yes, I would like to request a roll call vote for this.
Okay. All right, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Tidwell,
Yes.
Ms. Darby,
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton,
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales,
Yes.
and Ms. Sharp.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Number 16.
All right, number 16, Instruction Tab 7, Contracted Service with Simple Grants. Simple Grants is a full-service grant consulting firm. They work closely with their clients, and their goal is to provide a navigator and go-to expert for all things grant-related. Simple Grants will serve with grant identification, grant writing, and grant management. Rutherford County Schools would like to contract with Simple Grants for no more than $75,000. This work would begin with a comprehensive grant strategy led by the district. Recommended motion to approve no more than $75,000 in ESSER 3.0 funds to complete the comprehensive grant strategy and hourly rate for grant identification, grant writing, and grant management for Rutherford County Schools. I also like to add, we still have the position of grant writer. We don't anticipate getting rid of it. We're just not going to hire it till we can get a strategy to see where we need to go.
Any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion. Madam Chairman, I move to approve. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Rosales. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to abstain or oppose? Motion passes for the ESSER funds for our Simple Grants contract.
All right, next we have contracted service with Care Solace. So Care Solace is our multilingual care coordination service provided to Rutherford County families during the 22-23 school year. We received extremely positive feedback from the community and RCS staff as we've tried to quickly connect students, staff, and their families with verified mental health providers. Rutherford County Schools would like to continue to provide these services during the 23-24 school year utilizing ESSER 3.0 funds in the amount of $197,832. Recommended motion to approve $197,832 in ESSER 3.0 funds to continue utilizing Care Solace for the 23-24 school year for Rutherford County Schools. And we also have a representative here with us if you would entertain them speaking.
Yes, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come back and visit with you. I have handouts for everybody. Is it okay if I distribute those? All right. And I can also connect to the projection device.
Thank you.
If you would like. Please, if someone would do that.
Thank you so much.
I can do that for you so everyone can
Thank you,
see
sir.
as well. Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
I've got extras if anybody else would like them. Yes, so I created this, this short presentation explanation as a brief overview for anyone who's not familiar with who we are, what we do, but also to look at some specific data from Rutherford County since your beginning of usage back in August. I think you'll find this very interesting. So if you want to follow along with me, you can do that. If you'll turn to page 2, our purpose here, you see, is really simple, and that is to help students, families of students, so mom, dad, siblings in the home, any employee of Rutherford County to quickly, easily connect to mental health care services whenever they need it, day or night, 24/7, 365, nights, weekends, holidays, summertime. This slide really tells the story. If you'll go to the next one, please, the next page. This one really tells the story. So on the left-hand side is that individual. This is a student or a family member or a staff member in Rutherford County. And over on the right is a licensed mental health care professional who's willing to help. The problem are all of the obstacles that exist in between. At the forefront is stigma, as you might imagine. And so having an anonymous, confidential platform where anyone can go, either with or without the help of a care companion. So we have a team of about 400 care companions who work around the clock, who will receive a text, a phone call, a video chat, or an individual can go to our anonymous platform, answer a few questions, put in their zip code, and it'll populate a list of all the mental health care providers near that zip code who offer the services that they requested. And at any time during the process, they can connect with one of our care companions, either through a phone call, a chat, a text, a video chat. And that care companion then will navigate all of these obstacles. They remain anonymous. They're provided an anonymous reference code, so they don't even have to give their name. No birth dates, no social security numbers. They remain anonymous. And then our care companion will navigate insurance. So they'll call ahead into the mental health care providers to make sure that they take their insurance and speak their language, that they have the right specialty fit. They'll find the ones with the shortest wait times and schedule the appointments for the individual, completely anonymously. So the three parts on the next page, if you'll turn over, the three parts that Care Solace consists of, number one, the warm handoff. The warm handoff is a platform that we created for your school counselors when they need to make referrals. So at the click of one button, they can organize every referral into a digital case file, and the best part of all is they can track the progress of every single referral in real time. So they will see every text, every phone call, every email, every appointment that was scheduled. Did the individual go to the appointment? All of that data, our care companions collect that data and then upload it into that case file for the school counselor. So when the school counselor opens the case file, all of that data is there. So for the first time ever, the counselor and Rutherford County Schools has a complete digital chronological record of everything that's been done to serve that student. Imagine what that would be worth when you stand before a judge and a parent says, you didn't do anything to help my kid, to have that kind of data. So that's what we're supplying through the warm handoff. The care companion team is that team of 400 plus highly trained, compassionate, empathetic care companions who are always on call, 24/7, 365. And just so you'll know, we've received over 6.5 million requests nationwide, either individuals connecting us on their own or referrals being made. And of those 6.5 million, nearly half of those are for more intensive pathways to care, like psychologists or psychiatrists or drug abuse, medical detox, stabilization, hospitalization. And one of the interesting facts about that, too, is about a third of all of those requests come in after work hours, between 5 p.m. and 1 a.m. When school counselors are off the clock, home with their families, about a third of that 6.5 million requests have come into us. So that's very interesting data. The final piece is that Care Match piece. That is the anonymous, confidential, self-service portal where any student, family member, faculty, or staff member can go to that website that we've created just for Rutherford County Schools, and they can either click call, text, video chat, or if they want to go completely on their own, they can click a button and it will allow them to work through, answer a few questions, and it'll populate that list for them. Now let's look at some data if you'll go to the next page. This is from Rutherford County. And you can see a breakdown by month of the key performance indicators. So over on the left-hand side, you'll see all of the key performance indicators that we're tracking. And then each month you'll see the results that we had. So Over on the right-hand side, on the far right, you'll see the total for August through May as of today. And some of the key ones that we pointed out is warm handoffs. Those are referrals made by school counselors for an individual, a student, to a mental health care provider. Over 701 of those warm handoffs, or those referrals, were made through the Care Solace platform. Go down a little bit further, you'll see the total appointments that were booked into care. 409 appointments were booked for individual students or faculty members with mental health care providers. And then you can see a variety of other things there too. Communication saved, total unreachables, total decline services. So those are that we reached out to, we scheduled appointments, and they said no thank you. Parents did. Or anonymous searches have taken place. At the very bottom, you'll see those are the ones that an individual, either a student, a family member, or a staff member, went to the anonymous platform and made those searches on their own. If you'll go to the next page, a little more data for you. You'll see the total cases. Total communications, 38,400 communications have taken place, either through a referral, through an individual contacting us, one of our care companions communicating with the parent or a family, a care companion communicating with the school counselor, a care companion communicating with the mental health care provider. So 38,400 communications. That includes text, phone calls, video chats, etc. 409 appointments, 586 total anonymous searches. And then over on the right-hand side, time saved. You can see the actual time in minutes and hours that it took our care companion staff to do all of that work, to handle those 38,400 communications, to book those 409 appointments, to correspond to those 586 anonymous searches. 1,132.1 hours, and you can see the breakdown there. Let's go to the next page, please. Here you'll see a breakdown of demographics. So let's start with gender, and you can see that it's a nice breakdown, 59% female, 40% male, 1% non-binary. Age groups, you can see the breakdown. Children aged 3 to 11 was 43%. Adolescents, 12 to 17, 33%. Adults, 18 to 64, made up 24%. And then seniors, 65 or older, there weren't any in this section. Ethnicity, you can see a breakdown there by color, and you can see it in the bar graph. So I'll let you take a look at that. And then down at the bottom, these are the community needs. So one of the parts of this is they go through either when we're making the referral or if they're searching anonymously, is we ask them, hey, what are you seeking help for? And they can either choose from the list of substance use categories or the mental health categories. And so here at the bottom, you see a breakdown of the substance use categories, cannabis and alcohol. And then on the right-hand side, every single one of the DSM-5 mental health categories were addressed across Rutherford County. You'll go to the next page, please. Here you'll see the top 10 insurance companies on the left-hand side who are providing services, and the top 10 mental health care providers on the right-hand side who are providing services into the school district. Also, this is a new graphic at the bottom of the page that we've created. It shows you the communications by time of day. So you can actually see what time of day either individuals are reaching out to us through the anonymous platform or school counselors are making referrals for them.
Something I was going to ask, so I'm looking at just some of your top 10 providers, and I see Knoxville in the top 10. Is that just because we have a lack of providers in our area? That's what I've heard from principals and other people. We just have a lack of providers.
Yes, and so that would be one of the teletherapy sessions. Yeah, so one of the things, if you are not aware, when you request teletherapy, it opens it up to every licensed mental health care professional in the state of Tennessee. So whoever can see that individual first.
What time frame? Because when we had our first mental health forum, I think it was back in April of 2020. That was the biggest thing. My heart broke because families were saying, we want to get help, but they're telling us it's going to be 6 months to a year to get in. I can't make you guys find more providers, right. But obviously telehealth would help. But what is the time frame? Like if someone calls you
yes.
and they're saying, my child's in crisis, we need some help, how soon can you get them in to see
Yeah, great question. I will tell you right now, as of today, our national average is 5 days or less and having an appointment booked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been one of the complaints that I've gotten, has been the time frame of when they can see somebody.
Yeah, when individuals try on their own, it can be, as you said, 3 months or 6 months or longer to get an appointment. And so having this bank of mental health care professionals from all over across the state of Tennessee, we're able to drastically reduce that wait time. All right, let's go to the next page. This one's interesting too, and I want to give you a little bit of information on this one. So this is the Staff Net Promoter Score. If you're not familiar with Net Promoter Scores, it's a scale from a negative 100 to a positive 100, if you'll look at that dial in the middle of the page. And so that you can see we quarterly reach out to the school district, to the counselors, to those in the school district who are using the program, and we ask them a few questions to gauge how they're feeling about it, how it's going. Are you using it? Are you happy with it? That sort of thing. And so what we had here is a Net Promoter Score of 58. So our brain normally thinks, oh, wow, as a school teacher, 58 was not good, right? Right, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a 58 out of a 100. We're talking about a negative 100 to a positive 100. So if you look at the scale at the bottom, that's actually 76% were promoters of everyone that we contacted, and only 18% were detractors. And of that 18%, some of them were does not apply, or I've not had the opportunity to use that function yet, or I'm a new counselor and I haven't started using it. So it included all of those as well. So and you can see the scale at the bottom. So good is 0 to 30, excellent is 30 to 75, and then world class is 75 to 100. So that 58 falls into the excellent category. If you'll turn to the next page, we did the same type thing for all of the families who are using our services. We reach out to them with a questionnaire, a survey, and ask them how they feel about it. The Net Promoter Score for families, 87%. So that places us in the world-class category among families that gave response. If you'll go to the next slide very quickly, I have just a couple of comments. So what families are saying about us, I'm not going to take the time to read this to you on your own, but it's right there. There are a couple of quotes that we received from family members that used the service. And I'm sorry, I skipped over the ones from Rutherford County staff. They were a couple of pages back, a couple of quotes from your actual staff members that told us what they thought of the service as well. Yes?
As far as connecting families, do you find out what their insurance is first and make sure that those providers are covered when you're connecting them? Is that the basis, the start?
Absolutely. So if they reach out to us through a phone call, a text, or a chat, that's one of the questions we will ask. You know, do you have private insurance? Do you have public insurance? Do you have no insurance at all? If you have no insurance, we will still find them a licensed mental health care provider who will see them either on a free or a sliding scale. If they go through the self-service portal, that's one of the questions as well. So our team of care companions, when they do their homework, so when a district partners with us, we go through and vet all of the mental health care providers within 50 miles. And one of the questions we ask them when we're on the phone with them, what insurances do you take? And all of that is documented, so we have a record of all of that. Yes, great question, thank you. Anyone else?
Do you know how many people participated in the surveys for the promoter scores?
I don't have the total number. I know we send them out to everyone who's using it. So for everyone that was represented in the data, we sent one out quarterly. I don't have a number of how many people actually responded to that. Sorry. Any other questions from anyone? Yes.
I do have a question.
Absolutely.
So going back to the demographics.
Yes.
I'm just going to point this out. On the age and the children, 3 to 11 is 42%.
43%, yes.
That's mind-boggling.
Yes.
And then anxiety is the number one cause. So it takes me a little bit of a pause to look back to the graph where you've got the months, no, not the months, I'm sorry. Where was it? The utilization with the interactions.
Yes.
Between March and April. I don't know if you can do this, but it'd be interesting to know if there was an increase in that age group needing help because of an anxiety maybe because of TCAP approaching during that time.
Great.
Because it just makes it seem really interesting that that age group is higher than the older students, and anxiety is the top of the list. So I don't know if you can.
We can do that. So
Okay.
any special data that you guys might want, make that request.
Okay.
We have a team of folks that's all they do is they crunch numbers and look at the data,
Okay.
and they can break it down and actually get that granular and tell you if there was an increase.
I think that would be beneficial and it will help us. And I would think the schools, especially in elementary age, that teachers are aware and principals that during this time, the level of anxiety is going to be really high for their kids. And maybe we can start doing something extra to alleviate some more brain teasers, something to alleviate that, that anxiety. So I just find that interesting.
I was shocked that the numbers were higher in younger children than were adolescents. I honestly think that may not be really the true case on adolescents, because with the problems we're having in society, especially with our teenagers, I would say that cannabis and alcohol is way higher than what this is showing. What percentage of first calls do you get, and then, like you said, can't find them, they don't ever call back? Is there more in that range?
Oh, yeah, there's quite a few in that range. Either they never call back, or we schedule an appointment for them, they don't show, or the parent declines, no, I'm not taking my kid. You get a lot of that too. So even though we do all the work and get appointments scheduled, you can't force them to
I thought
go.
that number would be much higher.
Yes, yes.
So what's the process if the parent accepts a session, but they're a no-show?
Yeah, so we document that in the student's case file, and then if we check in with the mental health care provider the day after their appointment to see if they went. If they didn't, then we start reaching out to the family again and reschedule, and we continue that process for a month or more until the school counselor says, look, you've tried 4 times, that's enough, they're not going to go. Or, we ask them, hey, do you want us to keep trying, or let it go for now?
Okay.
Ms. Darby?
Couple questions.
Sure.
One, in regards to you saying it's anonymous, but the counselors are still getting all the information. I guess my question would be, if the counselor is able to find out from the provider whether someone showed up or not, are we not violating some HIPAA things, or what's?
No, and again, the counselor's not, all we're doing is we're asking, did the individual go to their session? So again, if the counselor is involved, that is not anonymous. That's one that a referral has been made on by the counselor. That student is sitting in front of them and has asked for help, or the court has appointed that they need help. So we know that individual. The ones that are anonymous are the ones that are either students or family members or staff members that go through our anonymous portal that we never ask their name, their birth date, their social security number, so they're completely anonymous and blind to us.
Okay. And my next question, can you walk me through, I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, if I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, I know I can go on their website and look up the providers and do all that kind of stuff. Aside from you saving someone time, I guess, can you walk me through how that's different for you versus the average person doing it on their own?
Absolutely. So the first thing is on average nationwide, when a parent tries to schedule mental health care services, either for himself, herself, or for a child, on average, it takes between 50 and 60 phone calls for them to call through, find out, do you take my insurance? Do you speak my language? Do you have the specialty fit that I need? How soon can you see me? So by the time they work through all of those, it can take 50 or 60 phone calls. Our team of care companions do all of that work for them. And by our team going through and qualifying, vetting every single mental health care provider within 50 miles, we already know in our data bank what insurance they take, what languages they speak, what the wait times are you accepting new patients? We already have all that information in there, so we can drastically ramp up that process, that time. And so with the bank of across the state, nearly 1,000 mental health care providers across the state, if no one is available right away to see them physically, we can get them connected with a virtual or teletherapy session until that individual locally becomes available. So we navigate and coordinate all of that for the individual, for the parent. What we've also found too, and that's a great question, is on average, when a individual, like a parent, attempts to navigate all of those barriers, that slide that I had up that showed all the circles right here, When they attempt to navigate all of those obstacles, only 18% are successful in getting through and getting connected. About 80% get so frustrated with all the phone calls being told, no, we don't take your insurance, or we can't see you for 6 months, or we don't speak your language, or we don't have the right specialization, or we're not accepting new patients. They give up and they never get help. So with our team, we've improved that to over 60% are actually going to their first appointment.
A question on,
Yes, sir.
Going back to demographics, where it says adults, is that staff or is that students, parents, or both?
All the above.
Okay.
Yeah, that's faculty, staff, parents, everyone involved. So, yeah, almost 25%, a quarter of them are parents.
So forgive me if this has been asked before. I think I missed it. I'm not sure.
Sure.
On the age group, excuse me, how many total people were that? Because 43% of a 3 to 11-year-olds sounds high, but if this is a group of, I mean, we go back here to warm handoff 701, I don't know that that's a large percentage compared to how large our school system is.
Right, so the warm handoffs are only those referrals that were made by school counselors. That does not include that bottom number, that 586 anonymous searches that took place.
Right, but how many total people go into the age group?
This was for the total of everyone, when you look at the data in total, of everyone that used our services, you can see that 43% of them, either through an appointment made by a school counselor or through an anonymous search, 43% of the total were children aged 3 to 11.
What was the total?
I'm sorry.
What was the total of all of these age groups? How many people does that represent?
Let me go back to the data. You can see
Would it be the total number of cases
it would
that
be,
that's based on?
No, the cases would only be those that actually, let me find the cases. Here we go. Yeah, on this slide, total cases was 834. Yes, so I'm sorry, I was looking at the other slide. So your total cases were 834. So 409 appointments booked, 586 anonymous searches.
So adding those two
Yes.
numbers,
Together.
43% together is 43% of that.
That total.
Or that total is the age group,
1,400 or so.
1,400 or so.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I know we have a pretty strict attendance policy, but someone who visits their home, close to home. I know that sometimes a child needs to be taken out of that environment and needs to go somewhere for 30 days, maybe more.
Yes.
I hope that our school system is being accommodating in that case, because sometimes that's the right thing, especially when you've got a teenager. You've got to get them out of that environment, and so
That's something we would love to have our state delegation help with. Yes, we excuse their absences, but we are still held accountable on accountability.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
That double-edged sword. Yes. Any other questions that I might answer for you while I'm here?
Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime.
Yes, thank you.
Anytime you guys have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to come by and meet with you. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to recommend a motion to approve, oh, come on, Dr. Sullivan, read the number. In ESSER 3.0 funds to continue utilizing Care Solace for the 23-24 school year in Rutherford County Schools.
I'd like a roll call.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Darby?
No.
Mrs. Maxwell?
yes.
Mrs. Bratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
and Ms. Sharp.
No. Motion passes. Thank you. Number 17.
I don't have anything additional for 17 unless anybody has any budget questions.
Are you off to the county commissioner?
I am not, no.
No?
Got a couple
You
more
don't?
things to do. No,
Okay.
we sent our team, I'll get there afterwards.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be a late night, so. Insurance update. The only thing you guys may hear is we are communicating with our classified staff about a paycheck. So normally we have, in the summer, we have to do double payments for some of our classified staff, so that'll happen at their June paycheck. So traditionally in May, it'll be June this time, so. Director's update, I have a couple things. One, some good news. So we have partnered for, I don't know how many years. It is the Business Education Partnership Foundation. I received teacher grants from it. We used to call it the BEP Nissan Mini Grant. I don't know how, I mean, it's been around for many, many years. They're in the middle of liquidating that foundation. Nissan has changed kind of what their stipulations are for donations, and so they can no longer donate to a public school that receives more than 50% of its funds from a public entity, which we're a public school. We're going to receive more than 50% of our funds from a public entity, but there's quite a bit of funds in there. So we yesterday received a check for $67,732. So it'll be restricted, that we have to look at it from an aspect of approaching STEM education or innovative models. And so we're looking initially at our ION schools and to help with STEM and STEAM designation. There will be an additional $50,000 that we will be allocate. Us and the city schools had that split, so it was an even split between the two systems. State Farm also does, and you can go in Google, there was a partnership that they had for driver's education last year. And so there's an additional $50,000 that is designated as part of that foundation for driver's education. And we will meet as a team and submit a proposal to the BEP Foundation for us to be able to receive that additional $50,000 for driver's education as well. So some good news on that front.
Excellent.
We had a question on Tuesday about ESSER. So in ESSER 2.0, I was just texting Dr. Gogian to get accurate numbers. We've got about $200,000 left that has to be expended by June 30th. I was seeing if he spent the rest of it. In ESSER 3.0, conservatively, we have around 28 million right now. We are still finishing up tutoring expenditures and enrollment and that type of stuff. And I asked how much was tied up in tutoring programs for next year. Right now, we have 8.5 million of that 28 million tied up in tutoring. That very well could increase depending on what happens with third grade numbers. So that's kind of where we are right now when we make our next modification. So we should probably make one in June or July. That comes before the board for approval, like always. Last thing I had is because we just have so many things to continually discuss. We did salary study, then we did budget, and we just can't just wait for another thing to tackle. So next, our big focus for next year will be zoning and boundaries. So we have RSP will be here on May 25th. So they sent this today, and I don't love the title, but as the teacher in me, I do find it a little bit funny. He titled it as board homework. So between now and May 25th, I will send this to you guys as soon as we're finished here. Just reached over to Ms. Sharp and asked if I could go ahead and show you so that you could see. There's two things that they ask us to consider. One is exceptional education must take place at each facility in every option. So that has to be key number one. Key number two is for them to develop plans. So we won't really start to get a proposal to look to adopt until October, but they would like board input on what are the priorities of the board. And they have, I can't remember how many different options, 10 or 12, 10 different options. So there's a couple of these, and I'll just show you, and again, send this to you right away, and just to see what the board actually prioritizes. First one is boundary natural features. So do you want your boundaries to be consistent? You'll see they have, do we want it to be contiguous, or are we okay if they are not contiguous and split up? So that would be one option. Option two, do we want our demographic considerations to be similar and balanced among our schools? So that would be option two. Option three, and you can choose multiple of these. It's just to kind of show you so that they can start looking at numbers. Three is looking at future growth. So goal attendance areas remain the same for as long as possible. That is probably one that I would recommend because we continually change our families nonstop over the years. So how can we try to make it as as actionable to stay in the similar area for as much as possible. Looking at number 4, the feeder system. So right now, we have a lot of incomplete feeder systems. For example, they have Rock Springs Middle School and Stewart's Creek Middle School. Rock Springs Elementary may go to one, but then Stewart's Creek and Rocky Fork and Rock Springs all go to Rock Springs Middle, to where you could have a complete feeder system, Stewart's Creek only to Stewart's Creek Middle. So these two kind of go together, because if we don't do this correct, I'm not sure this is actual realistic for very long. Next one is fiscal capacity or capital considerations. So no additional expenses on brick and mortar projects. So this would be basically making sure we aren't adding additional things onto our building. I don't really think this is a big area for us, because that involves the county commission having to approve additional funds for us. Next one is looking at the operations side of it. So do we want to keep staffing as close as possible? We realize that if we do a new plan and the board approves it in October, that it's going to take quite a bit of time for us to move staff around in that budget process. It'll be easier because of what we did all with this year's budget, but we're going to have to move people around. So is that a goal? Next one is just looking at neighborhoods. Do we want to keep neighborhoods intact, or are we okay with splitting neighborhoods as certain ways? So where do we suggest those going? Looking at projected enrollment. How do we want to balance that over the next couple of years? Students impacted, is this looking to see how many true kids, if we do an entire redistricting of our school district, is that a goal to impact as few kids as possible? And so just wanted to kind of go over, and the very last one, this is the one that probably isn't going to be thought of a whole lot, but it is one we have to keep in mind, is transportation. It's pretty neat the way they have the suggestive zones in between different areas, and that can be another one of your options. So I'll share all of that with you. So he's going to come and facilitate a prioritization discussion during our meeting on the 25th. There should not be a whole lot on the agenda other than end of year cleanup and then new purchases to be ready by July 1st, because once our budget kind of closes, then we are stuck for a couple weeks with our books being closed. And this will be a big kind of priority for us to talk about. So just wanted to share, that'll be the next big project we tackle.
So, Dr. Sullivan, for clarity's sake, so May 25th, he's going to come and present this.
Yep.
And then he's going to open the floor, he's going to ask us as a board to pick goals based on their recommendations. And then he'll go back with his team and come up with a plan to present on October.
It'll be before that, so we'll start doing some parent input sessions, staff input, all that different type of thing. Our initial discussion was around going through and doing some videos instead of doing a whole bunch of town halls in each one of these, because we realize with town halls, we of course want parent input, but when we're looking at it from an entire district, everybody pretty much wants to stay where they are. That's usually what the comments come up. And we want to make sure people don't move as much as possible. We're also in a situation that we need to address this in one fell swoop instead of every year when we do this. So we'll do some some parent meetings, videos, then they'll have some proposals in August. Because we grow so much from May to August, they've requested to wait until our September enrollment is in, and then have a final presentation to the board in September, and then back again in October. If we have a retreat in October, my guess is that'll probably be the large majority of our discussion in October to hopefully have it done by the end of that month.
And in October, that'll be a plan that they will present to us of with timelines of how to execute these different goals that we're telling them to.
In my conversations with him, I've suggested 3 different plans. So I said, give us 3 different options. Don't give us just one, give us 3. And you'll see on this, he's going to ask us to prioritize 3 to 5. So it's not like we have to be stuck on one thing. What are our top 3 to 5 areas?
Does the plans, would they include the obviously the additions?
Yes.
But also now the property with the elementary school, possibility another school in that same property. We could be buying another piece of land somewhere. Does it factor all that in?
It'll include only things that we have approved at that time, will be my suggestion.
Okay. So it'll be the property that we approve with Beatty?
Yep.
Okay.
As far as the Protor,
It's a rough word, I agree. It's my word like continuity, I just can't.
Are you wanting us to do that privately to you, or are you wanting to?
No, you don't have to submit, just be ready to have that as open discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Have a plan ready.
Yep. So, sorry we didn't even get like 5 minutes to rest on something, but here we go.
Oh, yes, I have something. Sorry, I didn't know if we were. I don't think I presented this. So I met with Rep. Stevens right after the close of the General Assembly, and he gave us some highlights of some legislation that really pertains to education and the funding that hopefully will trickle down to Rutherford County. So one is $15 million to maintain local level budgets to fund 6 weeks of paid leave for teacher. This also includes paternity as well, as I understood. $12 million is for teacher raises with a goal of $50,000 base salary by 2026. So that was a big, huge initiative by the Governor Lee to start the starting salary for teachers, the base pay at $50,000 with the goal of reaching 2026. So it's going to be interesting how close we are to that goal with the new pay scales. $7.6 million tutoring for retained K through 3rd students, $21 million for summer learning camps. At the time, I had told him that if he could investigate for us, because our allocations at that time, this was back in April 23rd, we were $2 million short for the summer. And he was supposed to get back to me, so I followed up with him. And then $10 million for school transportation grants for summer camps, and $18 million for pre-K special education. So those were the things that were passed. I apologize. There was something that I had the right amounts of allocations for things that were pertaining to safety. I didn't have them pertaining exactly to the education for the Rutherford County, but I can go back and ask him what those allocations will be for Rutherford County. But that's pretty much all I have right now in regards to funding that were big ticket items that passed this past General Assembly.
Can you send that to us?
Yeah, I sent it to you guys in a text message, but I can resend it again. No problem.
Thank you.
I thought I did. If I didn't, I apologize. I sent so many things to so many people, so.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales. General discussion.
Madam Chair, I do have a comment and a proposal. Thinking back to the injustice and the lack of cooperation toward the charter school committee and not being allowed to present at our last special call charter school hearing is totally unacceptable. That is a requirement that was set by the state. This board should have heard from our committee, and we did not. Therefore, I recommend that a policy be written and forwarded to our policy committee for consideration. The policy shall include, for any future charter school hearings, our charter school committee will be allowed to present their findings from the audit and report to the RCS board. So that would be a recommendation that I have for the board to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Young, but the board received the recommendation on April 14th. It also went to the media, so we all had the recommendation and we all knew what the recommendation was. And I do appreciate your comments.
But the public did not.
It was posted for the public to see.
I agree with you, Mr. Young, and I too would like to see this written into policy. What was done was not fair. It was not right. We've received numerous emails about it from the public, and we're not going to have that again, I hope. So let's get it in policy so there won't be any question.
I agree. We want to be truly transparent. It may have been posted online, but most of the people viewing out there didn't know that. So I just think, in transparency's sake, we need to add that to our policy.
Yeah, I got emails about it as well. Why didn't we present? In every meeting that we've had in regards to the charter school, there's been a presentation. So if it was something that we had not been doing before, then that is justifiable. But it was, we just need consistency. So if we are not going to present, that's fine. But let's make it fair across the board and how we're going to be doing this moving forward, because I did run on transparency, and that's a campaign promise that I would like to retain and keep in regards to when I knocked on the doors and told constituents that we were going to be transparent, so.
Dr. Sullivan, do you know if there's a policy in regards to graduation and cords on file?
There is not.
We might want to look at
Yes, I'm working
doing
on
that at
that.
the next policy.
I'm
meeting
working
as
on
well.
that.
Any other comments? Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Well, before we adjourn, I thought Dr. Chastain was going to go through this.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, I had asked for us to see this.
Really
Thank you.
fast. I gave each of you just as so you can kind of keep along with us on our dates for our plans and timeline for our addressing of possible third grade retention. Really, at this point, first, I just want to thank our principals, our teachers, our EAs. This has been a journey. And judging by our screener scores that we got in, our third graders have risen to the challenge. So we have some reasons to be optimistic. We will get the first cut scores or raw scores from the Department of Ed on the 19th. So expect to hear from us on hopefully the 19th, the 20th, if everything comes in on time. But by then we'll have numbers of people we know for sure are moving on to fourth grade, and then the rest of this timeline will start going into effect. So just take a look and thank a principal and teacher.
Thank you, Dr. Chastain.
Thank you so much for putting this together. Really appreciate it. It's going to be really interesting to see the numbers come out and see how what we estimated, anticipated, and how close we are. So it's going to be interesting. So thank you. Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. We are adjourned.